Thanks to Muftal Nabila Abdullahi for bringing us AM Sports. Time for AM Talk. And on Talk today, we're talking about the census, the national exercise to collect updated social, demographic, economic, and housing data on the nation for policy and planning. I think for many of us is counting, where we get proper data in terms of the number of people in our country. But that information is used for many other things. So here are the dates being worked on. The census actually started on the 13th of June. There's census night on the 27th of June. We will get a proper understanding of that. And enumeration from the 27th of June to the 11th of July. My guest in studio is Professor Samuel Kwabena Enim. He's government statistician and chief census officer. Good morning to you, Prof. Yeah. So
thank you.
What do you do as chief census officer? Do you go on the field yourself?
I don't go on the field to do the actual data collection on a day-to-day basis, but as the chief census officer, my primary responsibility is the coordination of the entire activity, right from the planning stage up to the point where the data uptake is high, and therefore, as a country, we are ensuring that the resources from the census activity is yielding the right result. So it's just from planning, it's end to end.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. So let's go back to the dates. We know that something started on the 13th of June. And there's also a 27th date and then 27th to 11th. So explain these three different schedules.
Thank you. Census undertaking is a process. As you rightly indicated, enumeration itself is going to start on the 9th of 27 June and run through to the 11th of July. However, ahead of a census exercise, we do what we call chalking and listing of structures. So on the 13th, we did canvassing of all the identified 51,922 enumeration areas that we obtained from our demarcation exercise, which started about 3 years ago. So on the 14th, we started going into all these 51,922 enumeration areas and started with a chalking and listing. And what this literally means is that we visit every structure in the country, and ahead of the census, we've made use of satellite imagery, and we have a sense that about 11.1 million structures are currently in the country. So we've started the exercise where we visit each structure.
When you talk about structure, does it include homes?
Yes, so when we talk about structures, we are talking about both conventional and unconventional structures. And what I mean by conventional are the completed buildings that we see around, and the unconventional ones are the various structures or buildings that we either have people living in it or people living around it, and also the structures that we have for our institutions. So when we talk about structures, we are looking at residential structures, which comes at different levels of completion, institutional structures that also come at different levels of completion, and as I said, the unconventional ones. So this is the exercise that we started on Monday, and because we aim at not missing any structure, because we believe that that is the source by which we can count every person, we write on these structures in a manner that is sequential, and we follow the approach where we say, look on your left for every structure that from the first structure, look on the left, look on the right as you move into your enumeration area. So this is the exercise that we are doing. Because we are using tablets for data collection, once we do the chalking of the structures, we pick information on the structures. And some of the information that we pick are the GPS coordinates of the structure. We get information on the level of completion, as I said. Once a structure is above the window level and can inhabit people in the structure, we also chalk and list that structure. We get information on the type of structure. We get information on the uses of structure. And these are the things that we keep emphasizing on in terms of the uptake of the data, because we've identified about 80 ways or uses of different structures in the country. And this will be open data for us to make use of it.
Okay.
And lastly, we collect information on the availability of some basic facilities within the community. So these are the questions that we pick at the listing stage on the structures. Because we also are aiming at the actual enumeration, we pick some basic household information. So for instance, in a structure, we would want to identify the number of households in it, we identify the head of the household and pick information on the name and the contact of the head of household and make them aware that the exercise itself is going to start on the 27th June through to the 11th of July. And some basic demographics, i.e. number of males and females in the household. Okay. So this is what we are doing, and hopefully by Wednesday we're going to bring a closure to it. As at yesterday, looking at data that we had received from Saturday, 70% of the 11.1 million structures that I talked about had been covered already, and of the 51,922 enumeration areas, we've entered or received data from 99.7 of these enumeration areas. So in the next 3 days, that is from yesterday actually to Wednesday, we look forward to bringing this exercise to a closure. And then between Thursday and Sunday, we'll prepare for the actual enumeration. We talk about the census night and emphasize that it is not about counting on that night, but for some special groups. So the census night is just to raise awareness on the way we collect data and the need to harmonize the data collection over the 14-day period for purposes of comparison. So it's just to alert persons in Ghana that when we visit your residence from the 27th through the 11th, all the questions that we're going to ask would make reference to 27th June 2021. Okay. The headline issue is about how we are counting persons in the country. We count persons only based on the fact that the person would spend 27th June 2021. And because we want to avoid duplicates, we have targeted 6 different groups, and we say to persons in Ghana that there's no need to travel. This is not like a registration exercise that you have to go and join a queue. Wherever 27th June 2021 is going to find you, just be there, and Ghana Statistical Service would approach you and do the counting. So we'll find people in their residences, their households. We're going to find people in institutions such as university students who would be in their house of residence. Some of them will be in private hostels. We're going to find people, unfortunately, who are going to spend 27 June 2021 in the hospital. We're going to visit them as well and make sure we count them. We're going to find people who would be floating on that night, so people who will be homeless, people who will be traveling. And indeed, this is the group that we are going to count on 27 June 20, because it's a mobile population. You wouldn't want to miss them on the reference night. Okay. So on the reference night, it's only those who are in transit and those who are homeless, those who are outdoor sleepers. This will be our focus on that night. Otherwise, people who are going to be in their households, institutions, and other places, we're not going to come in there. The enumeration itself will start from the 28th of June 2021. Okay, so on census night, your officers are not going to knock on my gates? No official of Ghana Statistical Service would knock at the gate of any structure in the country. As I said, the target for counting on 27 June 2021 are the outdoor sleepers, are the persons who will be in transit on that night, and the homeless households. And this is across the country? This is across the country. Do you have enough men to do that in one night? We currently have deployed 66,800 people for the census activity. And out of this, we have 11,177 who are supervisors and 55,623 who are enumerators. So definitely, as I said, we don't expect anybody to do counting at residences, in institutions. So we're going to mobilize all these men that I've talked about, that is the 55,623, to go to places that we've identified to house our outdoor sleepers, or where our outdoor sleepers sleep. We're going to go to the various lorry parks to capture point of departure and point of arrival, and also the homeless households. So indeed, we would be able to cover all of them because they form a negligible population given our overall population. Okay, and when do I expect your officers, either in my office or in my home, or maybe the market, for the counting proper? So let me emphasize that we're not going to count you from your office. If you come to the office, be it a day worker or a night worker, once you're going to return to your household, to your home, that is where the counting will take place. We're not going to count people from the market, with the exception of the outdoor sleepers, that is those who sleep in the market. But if you just go in there to do your selling and go back to where you live, that is where the counting would occur. So we are saying that this activity will start on 28th June 2021 and run through to the 11th of July 2021. Because we don't want to miss anyone, in addition to all the structures, the strategy that we are putting in place, we are urging persons in Ghana to be mindful of prompting us if by the 8th of July they have not been counted. We don't want all of us to wait till the 11th of July and then begin to say that I was not counted. So one of the strategies that we are putting in place, even during the listing stage, that is as at yesterday, the 20th, we have put in the media that if anybody suspects that his or her structure has not been chalked and an enumerator has not visited the household and asked the basic questions that I've talked about, let's make use of our call center, which has a toll-free number and other numbers that, if you don't mind, I would want to put it out there.
We'll come to that, but I just want to go back a bit. How do I know my structure has not been chalked?
As I indicated, the chalking requires that we write on the structure, and we write it in such a way that it is visible for all of us to see, both the monitors who come around and the residents of the household.
Okay.
We do it in two ways. One is if we visit the structure or if we approach the structure and we find that there are people in there at the time of the visit, we knock, we get in, and as courtesy would require, we seek permission to write the numbers on the structures. In the event where we don't have anybody in the house, we go ahead and do the writing, and later when we come back and we are doing the data collection, would apologize, and because this is a national activity and it's happening over this period of time, we didn't have any other option than to go ahead and do the writing.
So I haven't seen any writing on my wall. What does it mean?
Two things. One is it has been written in a manner that it's not conspicuous enough for you to see. And because we are in the rainy season, we've had people coming around to say that they saw the enumerator writing, but it's been rained off. Our supervisors have seen that. And that is the dimension where you chalk and you list. So if you've not seen the writing, two things. One, the enumerator has not visited, and the other, he or she has visited and it's been rained off or it's been written in a manner that you are yet to see. Once you suspect this has not occurred, we ask that you find out from other members of your household, because it's possible that they came in at a time where another responsible adult was in the house, or the head of the household, that is if you are not the head of household. So that person might have information that they have been there. The second thing is we require that you look around your neighborhood, especially the house preceding yours and the one that comes after, to check whether the writings are there. If they are there, then it tells you that an enumerator has visited the place. Then the last option is if it is no, that is members of your household do not know, your neighbors also are not able to help. That is where we are asking that, as at yesterday till this week Friday, make use of our call center numbers, and immediately we'll detail our supervisors to check whether the enumerators have indeed chalked and listed the structure or otherwise. Okay.
So we can take the number now before we move on to the next set of questions. So what's the toll-free number to call?
So the toll-free number is 0800-426-426, 0800-426-426. In addition to the toll-free numbers, we have regular lines that we would urge persons in Ghana to take advantage of, and this is 0591476893, 0591476893, and also 0591476895.
Okay, that was pretty fast. I hope that Irama is taking the numbers and she's going to put it on the screen. If you didn't get it, please, let's go over, especially the last numbers.
So the toll-free number, 0800-426-426, 0800-426-426, and the regular lines are 0591476893, 0591476893. So it's just the last two digits that changes, 0591476895.
Okay. What should I be prepared to tell them when I call?
Depending on your experience, now we are receiving calls that have diverse reasons. Some of them are callings, especially related to what we've just discussed, that I'm yet to see the writings on my wall. I'm not too sure whether the numerator has been here or not. Then our agent would ask questions, as in, where is the location? And quickly, while you're on the line, we're going to see whether the data that we've received so far suggests that an enumerator has been there or not. Okay. Then if an enumerator has been there, we're going to provide that information. Otherwise, we'll take the details and follow up and call you back to indicate that we have checked and indeed it has been chalked, or if it hasn't been, then the enumerator would go in there to ensure that the chalking is done.
Are the checks done in record time? So I'm holding on and you're giving me the information,
yes,
whether or not you've been to my neighborhood?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, now let's continue from the 27th to the 11th of July. When you said they are not coming to my office, they're not coming to the markets, they will be in the hospitals overnight. And they will be in the lorry stations overnight. But here's the case, there's nobody home. And I guess there are many people who have that situation where there's nobody at home. So they go to work and then they go back home. So if you were to go to their houses, you won't find anybody. How are you going to count them?
Again, that is pretty important. We sort of enumerate the processes that we go through to do that. So for emphasis, if you just come into work and you go back, we will not count you at the office. If you go to the market, do your work and go back, we will not count you at the market, with the exception of people that's the outdoor sleepers who sleep around the marketplaces and also around the institutional area. If your work is such that it's difficult for us to get through to you, as part of our processes, we leave behind what we call a callback card. The essence of the callback card is to let you know that we visited your structure and because of your schedule, we didn't find you at home. And then on that callback card, you have our numbers, and we require that you fill it with your details so that our enumerator would follow up and schedule an appropriate time that the enumeration can be done. So it is really at the convenience of respondents. I do appreciate that people have very heavy schedules, so they don't have to stay at home and wait for us. But once there's another person there who can provide, that is why we don't target only the head of the household. We target the head of the household and any responsible adult in the household. In the event where neither of them are available, then we make use of our callback card.
Okay. Is it the same strategy for rural areas where, say, every person at home is either gone to school or they've gone to the farm, and so you won't find anybody if you were to go there?
It is basically the same strategy, but in the rural areas, we don't have that challenge as we have in the urban areas. The reason being that, and I'm happy with the example that you cited, once they are not around, you always have that communal system which you're going to get information on how you're going to trace them. So sometimes our enumerators go the extra mile to go to wherever they are to prompt them that we've been there, because we also appreciate the challenges in the rural setting to call back and so on and so forth. And that, as I said, that communal system and ability to locate them, I don't think it's that difficult relative to what we have in the urban areas.
Okay, so for instance, I have a niece at home who, if your officers were to get there, she would be answering the questions. What should I alert her on? What would they be asking?
Thank you very much. This gives us the opportunity to talk about the 2021 PAC instrument. As I indicated, we have instruments for 6 different groups, but I'll talk about the main group, that is the household population, which subsets of it is used for the other target population. So in our instrument, we have 10 modules. We start with the immigration module, and the essence of the immigration module is to get information on persons in your household that have traveled outside the country in the last 12 months. So we would want to know where they are, when they went, and these are the basic questions that we ask in the immigration module. The second module that we have in there is the socio-demographic module. This is very critical because all the analysis that we're going to do for the other 9 modules would make reference to the socio-demographic module, and it takes the household roster for all persons in the household, and for each of these persons we ask questions related to your age, your sex, your ethnic groupings, your religious affiliation, your marital status. Obviously, they have their respective age cutoffs where these questions will be asked. And the third module is on literacy and education, which is pretty obvious. The highest school, the highest level that you completed, and if you're currently in school, the highest grade that you've completed. Then we move on to our ICT module, which would ask questions related to the ICT tools that are available to the household, i.e. laptops, computers, and we also go forward to ask questions related to the use of mobile money, given its importance in current times. Then we have another module on difficulties in performing activities. This is a module that we've revised relative to the previous censuses, where we ask questions on whether you are disabled or otherwise. But now we are asking questions around the severity of the difficulty that one has in performing different activities such as hearing, seeing, walking, recollection, and so on. So we have 6 different dimensions where we ask questions around persons with difficulties in performing activities. Then we have a module on economic activity, which would help us better appreciate issues around employment and unemployment. Again, for the first time, we are trying to get a better understanding of vulnerability around unemployment. So we are asking questions related to the contracting around the work that people do and the hours of work that people are engaged in, so that we'll better appreciate what happens within the informal sector, which is about a quarter of our economy from the GDP point of view. Then we go into questions related to fertility and mortality. Again, for the first time, in addition to fertility, we are asking questions related to child survival. One of the things that we are going to get from this census is the multidimensional poverty. So we're going to pick questions around vulnerabilities, i.e. maternal and paternal orphanhood. We're going to ask questions around insurance, health insurance, and again, we're going to get information on child survival. And both at the individual level and at the household level, we'll be able to get a better understanding of multidimensional poverty and also vulnerability to poverty. Then we have the mortality model, and here we are looking at deaths that occurred 12 months prior to 27 June 2021. And then our last 2 modules are on housing and sanitation. Indeed, the housing model, our focus there is the quality of the housing. So while most of the questions are observational, that is, we look at the exterior walls to see the material that were used, some of the questions will require your needs, as you said, providing us information on the number of rooms in there, the floor material that has been used, which will help us understand the quality of the housing indicators.
Okay.
Then the sanitation ends.
But the question about jobs, age, is she expected to answer that on my behalf?
Yes. So we are asking that all of us should go to our website and get a sense of the scope of questions that we're going to ask.
Okay.
We have 127 questions in there. We don't expect you to provide responses for all the 127, but as you said, the specific things that they are not likely to be aware of have knowledge in, and you think providing them with that information would help, we urge persons in Ghana to do that. Okay.
So what's your address then? Your website's address, so that we can go and find the questions.
So the 2021 census website address is census2021.statsghana.gov.gh. census2021.statsghana.gov.gh.
Okay, so do I get a sense, just from what you said, that because I won't be likely to be home when you're there, I need to educate the person, the only person perhaps who may be home, so that they can answer all the questions on my behalf?
Yes.
Are you coming on weekends, on Saturdays and Sundays as well?
Yes. So we're working continuously from the 28th of June, every day over the 14th period, up to the 11th of July.
Okay.
Weekends, times that will be convenient to you. Once you let us know through the callback card, we can come in and do the enumeration. Okay.
Is there a possibility where you go to a household and the person there says that, I don't know, I don't have answers to any of the questions that you're asking, but say my madam will be home so and so time? Is there room for that?
Indeed, yes. Indeed. I mean, that makes it easy for us in the sense that that is what we would have expected from the callback card. So if a representative in the household will say that, let's schedule this time because that is when you would be available, would gladly accept it and oblige.
Okay, so Prof, is that the website?
Yes.
So once somebody goes there,
Yes.
what should they click on then?
So on this website, we have different tabs, as you can see, and one of the tabs is the resources tab. So once you click on the resources tab, you're going to get information on the census instrument, the census manual. So you can even educate yourself beyond the literal questions that we've put in there so that you get a sense of the intent beyond the question and you can get the needed information.
Okay. And if somebody gave, so you've come to meet me and I'm trying my best to answer the questions, but I realized later that I have given you wrong answers. What can I do?
Yes, in the course of the interview, we can always go back and do the correction. That should not be a challenge. Yes.
Okay. Well, I mean, in these times, you also have social media to deal with. I'm sure there are so many things out there already that aren't true, but people have put out there. How are you using social media? First of all, in educating, and I guess secondly, in trying to demystify some of the things that aren't true, but people believe them to be true, and so they're out there.
I mean, you are right. Indeed, in these contemporary times, you cannot do an activity like this without paying attention to social media. And as an institution, we've activated all the possible social media handles within our reach. So we have our Twitter that is running, and we have other social media platforms that we continue to engage to ensure that we've provided enough public education, we've done enough advocacy on things that we have to get the public to be aware of. One of the things that through social media, we've tried to respond to is, I'm sure you heard, the issue around ethnicity and religious affiliation. The first time I saw it via social media. So immediately we thought of the need to do the public education campaign on ethnicity. We also use the same platform to ensure that people are educated on why we ask those questions and the extent to which we can go, and again, how we do the analysis on these. The other issue that has come up in recent time, just a couple of days, has to do with why would we be counted at night, because people thought that the actual counting would be on 27 June 2021, and I'm happy we've discussed that for all persons to know that census night is not about counting, it's just about raising awareness of the fact that the questions that we are going to ask would make reference to 27 June. So we are active on social media in terms of things that we need to get the public to be aware of, and also things that we need to demystify or provide some clarity on.
So if I am on the bus on the 27th, the night of 27, and I'm counted, how does the person at home know that I have already been counted?
That's a good question, and that is why I said that once we approach your household, once the person is on the bus on that night, the question to you when we want to count is who spent the census night on 27th. So that response would automatically exclude whoever was on transit that day. And that person would be counted as part of our transit population. So the key question that we all need to be guided as far as the counting is concerned is the persons who spent the census night in the household. It's not about usual members of the household. It's a condition that for you to be counted, you should have spent the night in the household. And wherever you are, once you are in the country, we've targeted different groups where, as you said, the transit population will be counted.
Most of us don't easily open our doors and our gates to strangers. So how do we identify your men and women? And on what basis should we open up to them? The
physical appearance, from our point of view, should be the first basis to make a determination on whether you want to engage or otherwise. So all our census officials will be coming around in jackets. The field officers have reflective jackets, and the color of the reflective jacket is blue. Those of us who are monitors will be wearing this jacket, and we have also some independent monitors who will be wearing a dark blue jacket clearly written on it, the 2021 population housing census, and behind it you have their status as observers clearly written on it. So the first thing you need to look out for to make a determination on engaging with a census official is the wearing of the reflective jackets for our field officers. We've also provided them with caps that they are wearing. And on the cap, you also see the 2021 population and housing census. Beyond these physical appearance, we have given them ID cards, that is census ID cards, and in the event where they are not carrying their census ID cards, they should carry with them a letter of introduction, and where they present a letter of introduction, you should insist that they should accompany that with a national identity. So the national identity is a requirement when our field officers are going around with letters of introduction. This is the case because we are dealing with, as I indicated, 66,800 people. We have a few of them dropping out at different points in time. So we needed to give them that backup to ensure that in the absence of a census ID card, they have a letter of introduction. In the event where you still have doubts when they've presented with you their reflective jackets, their ID cards, we request that you make use of the numbers that they have on their ID cards. So each of them would have a number on the ID card that is behind the ID card, and also on the letters of introduction, you have the numbers in there. And we request that in the presence of the enumerator or the census official, place a call to our call center to verify whether indeed this person who has approached your residence is a census official or otherwise.
Okay. How many of them should I expect? 1, 2, 3?
We put in one enumerator in an enumeration area. I did hesitate a bit because for some areas and at different times of data collection, we advise them to move in pairs because of security reasons. So if for some reason you'll be available only at 10 p.m., we don't advise them to move by themselves. They should have either their supervisor or another enumerator accompanying them. In the event where it's more than one person, all of them or both of them should be wearing the reflective jackets and the caps that I talked about, and also have on them the ID cards.
Okay, and are they speaking a language that I can understand?
That is the strategy for the census. The strategy for the census is to recruit people from within the locality for two reasons. One is the language that you've talked about, and two is somebody that is known within that enumeration area to facilitate ease of conversation between the respondent and the enumerator. So yes, our enumerators would come in, we've walked them through how to translate all our instruments in the respective languages, so they would be able to speak the language within that locality.
Okay, so I'm spending about, say, how many minutes answering questions on the day they visit?
So on the listing, the data that we've had so far suggests that it's taking us just about 12 minutes to pick that data on the listing. As I said, it's just about 8 main questions that we ask under the listing. Ahead of a census undertaking, it's important you do trial censuses to get a sense of how long it's going to take to do this, to do the exercise. And we did trial censuses ahead of the main census, and on the average, it's taking us 40 to 45 minutes for the main enumeration, which has 127 questions. But obviously, that is a function of some other things, such as the household members and also how engaging the enumerator and the respondents are in the course. But on the average, it's about 40 to 45 minutes for the data collection exercise.
Okay. All right. So just before we wrap up, are they going to be in schools counting?
Yes. So they're going to be in schools, but where they're going to do the counting are the boarding institutions. As I said, the focus is always on where will you spend the census night. So those who go to the day school, that is, they go in and they count and they go back to their various residences, we're going to count them in their various residences. But those who are going to be in the boarding houses, such as the universities, we're going to count them in their house of residence where they're going to spend 27 June 2021.
Okay. Are you treating security persons, i.e. police, military, fire service, just like you're treating the rest of us? You count them at home?
Again, it depends on the arrangement. If a policeman is going on duty and is going to go back to his or her residence, we're going to count the police person in the quarters where the policeman would, or the security person will find him or herself. On the other hand, if they're going for a camp somewhere and they're going to spend X number of months, whatever, we're going to count them in that camp.
Okay.
So depending on the arrangement, as I said, the focus is on where you spend the 9. But if you're a worker who just go in for a 9 duty and come back, we'll count you in your residence.
Okay. All right. Prof, anything that I missed that you want to remind us of just before we wrap up the conversation?
Thank you very much. 2 things, if you don't mind. One, to start by saying a big thank you to all persons in Ghana. As I indicated, for the exercise that we've collected so far, it indicates that we've had extreme good cooperation between persons in Ghana and our enumerators. We use this same platform to request that with the next 3 days that we have, that is today, Tuesday, and Wednesday, to wrap up with the listening activities. Let's sustain that enthusiasm. Let's sustain that patriotism, having in mind that this is a decennial activity and we don't want to miss it. The second thing is to remind persons that this is just the listen phase of the exercise, and from 27th, we're going to come to your residences to do the enumeration. So you're going to see our enumerators coming around again, and we require that you give them the necessary cooperation and courtesies for the data collection.
Okay.
Thank you. Are
you counting Ghanaians in our foreign missions?
Yes. Hitherto, that is with the previous censuses, we did exclude the embassies, the foreign missions, but for the 2021 population housing census, we are targeting them as well to get a sense of the pressure that we have on our social amenities.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
I guess the conversation will certainly continue.
Indeed.
Since the exercise is very much ongoing. So if there's any more issues that we want to cross-check, we'll certainly come to you. Thank you so much for your time
Thank you.
this morning.
I'm grateful.
All right, my guest, Professor Samuel Kwabena, a name is Government Statistician and Chief Census Officer. The counting is on. Make sure you are counted. And I guess most importantly, because some of us have such tight schedules and we might not be home at the time the officers come around, we have a responsibility to educate those who will be home, who will be doing the answering on our behalf.